Hey, Ola,
Hey, Allard,
here we are again.
we're back
We're back and live.
on a
Um,
new
yeah,
episode of
yeah, Ola and Ola.
the Sustainable IT Podcast. Hey, you
Anyway,
brought your computer today.
yeah, we're going to discuss a topic we'll disclose soon, but we thought it would be nice if we discuss this topic and we have questions ourselves we can't answer because this time
Most
we
of the
did,
time it is.
yeah, and again, it's the two of us again. We could ask AI.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So that gives us the ability to bring an extra depth on topic and information that we don't know
I like
ourselves.
that. I think people viewing it is probably also very curious on the answers that will come out.
Yeah, the question is, are we going to use it? Because we just keep on talking, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Anyway, so we've already had the first podcast where we're just talking and chatting away about sustainability and IT in general.
And sorry that was way too long, the first episode, so I hope everybody watched to the end. If you did, grand prize.
Yeah.
We'll keep this, I think, a little bit shorter, right?
Yeah, so I'll try to stick to the 30 minutes and then it's easy digestible, easy to handle. And maybe you can just drive home within that. So it's a at home commute and then you can listen to us. And maybe our soothing voices help you to come down from your busy workday. Anyway, what we wanted to discuss is, I think, sustainable computing. Am I correct?
Ooh, yeah, I came up with that idea. I thought that would actually probably be an interesting one.
Yeah, and my first question is, what is sustainable computing anyway?
Do you know what it is? I can see your
Ah,
smile.
yeah. So
You
okay,
haven't to.
okay,
I have to
okay.
answer first.
Yeah. So no, 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 no. You're going to answer, but I'm going to ask first on AI.
Ooh.
See, caps locks off. What is sustainable? Oh, it's verifying me. If it's me, verify you are human. So AI is verifying me if I'm human. That's wonderful. Okay. What is sustainable?
Should I be silent while you type, or should
No,
I sing a
just no.
song?
Maybe you explain what you think that sustainable computing is.
Do you know? Do you know what I think is the most sustainable computing? I think it's our brain.
Oh, that's actually quite an interesting thought.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought I won't disclose this until we start to talk, but I think that's probably the most. But then, of course, we quickly run into the limitations of our own brain and our own memory and all of those things. So probably the most sustainable one is our own brain, maybe.
Oh, yeah,
And
depending.
and then the next one then is when we start to add our brains together.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you could see your body and your brain as a biological computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a computer has a motherboard, has DRAM, so that's active, like your active
My
memory.
active memory, very short.
Yeah, you have your SSD hard disk where you just write everything away. You have the energy supply, which is sort of your food. It's all built in an encasing, which is your body. So yeah, that's actually, yeah. So the most sustainable computing would be our cells. And we're highly depending on impulses from outside to do something. So
Yeah.
it's an action reaction thing that we are. And it's all based on our senses and our ability to use them, because everybody's talking about 5 senses, but I think there are more senses.
I think so too.
Yeah. So, but then we go in a completely different podcast. It's called Spiritual Talks with Ola Fagerström. So we don't want to get there.
That's
Okay.
on our
So,
second channel. Just kidding.
okay. So you first say sustainable computing is either our own brains, but otherwise in a real IT perspective, what do you think it is?
Yeah, I think that's probably the interesting thought of it. Okay, what is the most sustainable way to compute things when we need to start to use something else when our own brain is not enough? And I think that's where we then start to look at today. where probably the device that we start to use will be more sustainable one way or the other. And I think that's probably also when we start to look into, we have done some presentations lately as well where we have spoken about those things, and in a previous discussion as well, in the sense of what is a sustainable thing and what is a sustainable computing thing. Is that maybe something that's making me faster, doing things longer? Or is it that I can use the same thing for longer period of time, so it will have less of impact on other things? I don't know. What do you think? Or what?
Well, I don't think. No, just kidding. So, you know what Copilot says?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
eager.
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
eager.
yeah, yeah. There's probably a little bit of product placement. Anyway, so sustainable computing is the practice of designing, using, and disposing of digital technologies in ways that minimize environmental impact across their entire life cycle.
That's interesting.
But it doesn't really says on, oh, here it says it focuses on reducing energy use, cutting carbon emissions, and limiting electronic waste while still enabling technological progress. So, and that's, I kind of think, okay, then we're talking about assets or IT items.
Our day-to-day business.
Yeah, so that's laptops and everybody's day-to-day business because most work is done on a computer
Yeah.
and using computers. So, sustainable computing is about minimizing the environmental impact of all those devices,
Yeah.
and I think that's for AI. I think that's really a small spectrum, what it could be.
Yeah. But then, of course, the interesting uh, point to that is also that you can start to think of, is it more sustainable to do that computing on your own device? Or is it more sustainable to do that computing somewhere else?
That's a good question. Or with the support of AI or without the support of AI. Because you told me earlier today that currently people are actually making conscious choices when to use AI if it has a negative ecological impact. Am I correct?
Yeah, I've heard that from people and from friends that, yeah, I don't really use AI because I heard that it consumes so much water.
All right. And you being in that field, is that true?
I think in some cases it could be, but I think we need to be much more critical in when we start to look at how is that AI coming to you? Because we also start to see then, of course, as Microsoft then evolves products. And again, just as a reminder, this podcast is me and Allard's views on things. We are still employed by two companies, but the things that we say on this podcast is our own and not always reflecting or maybe what our companies that we are working for. So it's our private views, just to keep in
Yeah.
mind.
Thanks for that reminder. I always seem to forget
I
that.
know, but I think,
You're
the
the
legal guy coming in and
yeah,
say,
you're the legal conscious of our podcast, and I'm just the one who bashes straight to the door.
no, but I think the interesting then is start to think of, where do we have that AI? Is that AI on the device that you're using? Or is that AI system, the computing, somewhere else, in the sense of maybe you're using a sort of a dumb screen
Yeah,
that you're
so
connected to
if I
something?
would think of it, so I have my laptop, I can do whatever I need to do,
Yeah,
which was expected for me in my job. And then suddenly on top of that comes a tool that allows me to do way more stuff, way more efficient. That comes extra.
yeah,
So I think the perception is that it's probably because it's an extra, it has a high environmental burden. I mean, that should be logical to think about it. But it's the fact that the question is that a true statement?
I'm not so sure. because that AI could then either be done already locally on your device,
Okay.
or it can be processed or done from somewhere else.
So that would be
I could
Copilot integrated into
Yeah,
a.
but it could also be that you're using, for example, the AI chip that you might have in your
All right.
device,
Yeah.
like what they call an NPU or the neural processing unit.
Okay. So what's that? Sorry.
So it's a small part of a chip that's developed just to make AI processing more efficient.
And how is that called?
NPU, neural processing unit.
All right.
For example, imagine we're sitting in a Teams call.
Mm-hmm.
You always have a messy house, I know that. So you always make sure to blur out the background so I don't see the mess.
Not my house you're talking about, huh?
Yeah. So you always blur out the background. We sit in Teams. I also blur out the background where I'm sitting. But the difference is maybe that the blurring of your background is maybe done in the cloud.
Ah.
The blurring I have is done from the local machine because it has an AI chip, so it knows how to blur it out.
And that would be less impactful from an energy perspective.
It could, but it has a different impact, of course. Of course, if I sit and charge that device powered by a coal power plant,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's not super sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that would, for me, be more sustainable that I use the blurring that came from a data center that has. So
You're saying if you have an NPU on your motherboard or your
yeah, on your device,
processor,
yeah.
so that's an extra processor on the motherboard.
Yeah, so that's an extra processing chip that we start now to introduce, that we start to see, and we see it for Microsoft in the Copilot Plus PCs.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, we start to see this in phones and all the other things.
Yeah.
Very much a small processing unit that is meant to be on mobile kind of devices.
Mm.
If we start to look in data centers, they call the GPUs instead. But
Okay.
then there's in a completely different price category. They
And the
require
GPU stand for.
graphical processing
Oh yeah, of
unit.
course, yeah.
Yeah. So you see those specific GPUs that NVIDIA's and all the other companies bring out that are specifically made to be put in a data center. Of course, if you would put one of those GPUs in your device, your battery would probably last about 30 seconds,
Is that so?
give or take.
You're bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have that in a data center, that is then, of course, operationally built to handle it, and it has already green electricity and all of those other things.
Mm-hmm. So, but again, so I would think if we would use AI, that would be bad for the environment. And the question is that I
But
would
is
like to
it
raise: is that true?
bad for the
Yeah,
environment?
but yeah, well, yeah, but that's the question I would like to raise.
Yeah,
And aren't we aren't so as I explained, I have a laptop on top. I put AI, so that's the current situation.
yeah,
So how can we make AI more sustainable? So first of all, of course, using green energy. That's one.
yeah.
But second of all, is bringing your computing completely to the cloud.
Not always necessarily, because again, I'll just bring out some examples to get your sort of a new perspective. For example, let's say that, like I said, we have Teams. Teams can then either blur out the background on your device, or it can blur it out in the cloud. Your Outlook, if you ask it to summarize all my emails, that could then potentially be done through the AI chip on your device, or it could be processed in the cloud to process that answer, which is one, might be more environmental friendly than the other. But again, of course, it comes also down to the device that you're actually using. How is that device actually built? Is that built in a sustainable, conscious way?
So it's like, okay, so first of all,
So many ifs and buts.
yeah, so yeah, let's assume that we have a sustainably built conscious computer.
Yeah.
So designed for repairability, with materials which don't have a huge negative impact on our environment. It's
Yeah.
either recycled or really easy to harvest parts from the device, or even completely take them apart and recycle all the loose parts. So,
Yeah.
so and then we're putting AI on top of my user profile,
Yeah.
and there could be a NPU processor on my motherboard, or I'm going to use AI from the cloud.
Yeah.
But then we need something that decides what is environmental friendly. Is that
But I think that's where we then start to see how we start to develop software as well,
okay? Yeah.
where maybe those are things that are taken into consideration. I don't say that we are there yet, but maybe those are things that we will start to see built into more softwares. What is the best way, both from then an energy perspective, maybe to do on the device itself
Mm.
or done in the cloud? And then, of course, on my day-to-day job, when I also start to talk about maybe Windows on your device is maybe not a local installed Windows. Maybe that Windows is coming from something else and you just stream it down to your device.
All right, that's interesting.
Because the interesting perspective in that is maybe then I can use my device for more years.
Because you're not using any capacity from the computer. So I'm not. You're talking. You don't use the hard disk anymore. You don't use the motherboard more anymore in such a way as you would normally if you
No.
only would use it locally. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because then you would not be depending on that I can upgrade my CPU to the latest generation
All right, that's interesting.
or my hard drive to a faster drive. Because the experience that I have is not locally on the device.
So, so for me personally, I don't really care how much CPU or whatever
No.
RAM or whatever is in my computer. I just want to do stuff with it.
Yeah.
And that could be either do the work that I need to do,
Yeah.
or that could either be looking at videos,
Yeah.
do all kinds of stuff, but I don't care what's in it.
No.
But I do care that it's a nice screen and it doesn't flicker too much or it
Yeah.
doesn't glance
Yeah.
and that if you stroke the keys that it's a nice keyboard. See, I don't like the old school where you hear.
No.
So
You're not a
currently,
gamer.
yeah. So that's for me important. So you're telling me that's the only thing that I just need is a good screen and a nice keyboard. So I wouldn't need anything which is in there, which is the
I think that's where we then start to see when we start to bring to what we from Microsoft call Windows 365 or Windows coming from the cloud streamed out to your device. Because again, all of a sudden you can use that on your Microsoft
yeah.
or your Surface, your maybe old laptop, or maybe your phone.
Okay.
And even if that's an Android phone or an Apple, doesn't really matter. Because again, you just want to get things done, and maybe that is a Windows dependent thing that you need to get done.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that all of a sudden you can move between things. Think of it a bit of do you really care if you have that local DVD in your library at home? Probably not.
No.
You just want to watch a movie when you want to. What do? Hey, you log on to Netflix and you stream it to your device when you want to watch a movie. That's where we then also start to think of, okay, maybe that's more of a sustainable computing.
Well, that's interesting because I have two computers, one personal, of course, because I keep my private data in there,
Yeah.
and I have one from the company.
Yeah.
That could be actually be integrated into one.
Yeah. Because you don't really care if that's locally installed you probably even want to make sure on your private device that there's nothing from your company locally installed.
Yeah. So then the device is only an access tool.
Yeah.
And depending on what kind of private keys I'm using,
Yeah.
either private keys to access my private stuff or private keys to access my work stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a possibility. That
That's
would,
that's a possibility, and then you start to put all the other AI stuff around that as well, because what you don't care about anymore then is the speeds and feeds on the thing that you have in front of you. You just want to have a nice experience.
yeah. So, but it means that you need a very good broadband internet connection.
Do you really need a super good broadband to watch Netflix?
I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, you told me about the film that you watched when you were traveling here, right?
Yeah.
Was that a super good connection when you were sitting in the taxi?
I don't think that I was aware.
No, and
But
that's exactly the same
so
thing that
I recently moved house, and of course, you're going to look for a new internet provider.
yeah.
And they just sell you, of course, the highest connection because then the whole
Yeah,
family can.
yeah,
But yeah, I never had any problems with my connection at home.
no.
So probably I pay too much and I use too much, or I don't need that much.
The cool thing as well when you start to then move, for example, Windows to a data center, if you stream down Windows coming from that data center, what is the internet connection for that Windows machine? Is it from your home? Of course not.
Yeah.
No.
No?
The streaming of pixels goes through into your internet connection.
Oh, yeah.
The actual connection to internet for that Windows machine goes out on the highway from the data center.
Oh,
So all of a sudden, you have an extremely good internet connection to the Windows things that you want to do from that machine. And you don't need to have a super big fiber connection when you just want to have Windows things done.
okay. Yeah.
Same thing if you think of it when we moved away from buying expensive Blu-ray discs to have HD experience when you were watching that film. You just made sure that you have enough bandwidth to watch a 4K video,
Yeah.
and that's it. You don't really care how many servers that Netflix need to have to provide. What you probably do care is that make sure that Netflix actually build their data centers in a sustainable way, because that's where we're moving then to. How do we need to make sure that the supplier that you buy things from are building things in a sustainable way? Because that will then start to influence on how sustainable the computing that you are using actually is.
Coincidentally, yesterday I've heard that Nvidia
Yeah.
is putting a chip on the market. I think next half year, 26, half year two, and it's going to be 10 times more efficient
Yeah.
with regards to computing power, but also with regards to
Energy efficiency. Yeah.
yeah. So there is hope.
And then of course you can start to think of that. If you did a life cycle assessment 5 years ago that said that the energy consumption for a server in the cloud was X.
That's an issue.
And then
I have an issue for you.
and then you have those new chips that is maybe 100 times more energy efficient and 100 times less water hungry than or cooling hungry that it was 5 years ago.
So I haven't been working with LCA lifecycle analysis software for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
But when I was doing that, I knew that I was working with databases which were like 30, even
Yeah.
20 to 30 years old.
Yeah.
Which was just bizarre.
Yeah.
Because in 20 to 30 years, a lot can change.
Yeah.
Look at the energy mix that we're using in Holland, or here what you have
Yeah.
in Sweden and also in Norway, a lot of blue power. So we're doing LCA calculations with all data, and I would rather call that sort of secondary data instead of the primary data, what you need to actually make a comparison.
Yeah.
So, but AI and everything goes so quick. So you constantly need to update that as well to get a good view of what's the
Yeah, and
impact.
I think that's also when you start to make sure that you engage with your customers and partners and suppliers around you, because they need to provide you with the data, and you probably need to provide them with the data, or maybe help them with investments and all of those things around. And I think when we start to get that kind of flow of data, then we can start to make conscious decisions on what is the most sustainable computing that you can do. Is that really on your device? Or is that actually in the cloud? Or maybe it's a mix of it, of I'm using that device for 5 years. The first 2 years I did it locally on that device. The other years I maybe didn't use Windows locally at all because it was just streamed to me.
So you could actually conclude from this discussion that we still don't know what sustainable computing is.
No, probably still the most sustainable computing is your brain.
Of
You
course.
probably won't get
Yeah.
so much done at work,
Yeah.
but just using your own
Yeah.
brain.
So interesting. Now, I believe that with the technological advancements and with support of AI, we can make a more environmental friendly world. And I think at least because we humans live in a technocratic society,
Yeah.
so we kind of parted from nature, which I don't think is a really good thing.
No.
But if we want to keep successful as a human being, we have to keep that biological cycle and the technical cycle separated.
Mm.
Um, and from that perspective, make sure that the ecological cycle and therefore the environment is spared because we're also kind of dependent on it for food.
Yeah.
And it's such a complex problem.
Yeah.
I think if you see how quick AI
Yeah,
goes,
and I think also that, people are quicker then to make decisions, and there's a lot of misconception in that. And again, like we talk about in other podcasts, what is sustainability in that sense?
yeah,
So what is it that you put in that word?
yeah,
Again, what is the most sustainable computing? Maybe that is the thing that's making you doing things the fastest as you can, because then you can focus on other things that maybe bring value to society, which probably is much more sustainable for the whole society.
yeah, yeah. It's just the more we discuss it, the more I realize I don't know anything about it. Thinking I know something about it, but it,
Do you know what, Allard?
yeah,
I think we are getting on time today.
I think
I know
so as
we're
well.
really bad in keeping time,
Yeah, let's do it for
and
this
I know
time. Yeah,
people are probably maybe driving home
yeah.
or
They're
listening
probably
in,
close to
and
dinner,
close to dinner,
to the
or
wifey and the
their
kids. Yeah, yeah,
or their lunch is
yeah,
soon
yeah,
done,
yeah.
or they want to get to sleep. Who
Yeah,
knows?
good moment to stop here. Thank you, Ola. It was a wonderful discussion again. Looking forward to the new podcast that we're going to set up.
Thanks a lot, Allard.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.